The Russian Federation continues the conquest war against Ukraine. Despite numerous losses which it suffers, it doesn't refuse its plans for full occupation of the territory of Ukraine. The Russian Federation subsequently ignores laws and customs of war, uses terror tactics, inflicts attacks against military is civilian facilities. Unfortunately, last week is marked with killed and wounded among civilians, including children. Civilian residential buildings and the rest of civilian infrastructure are damaged and destroyed. During the last week, the Russian Federation inflicted 15 missile attacks and 355 air attacks against Ukraine. Moreover, 86 UAVs type Shahid were launched against our territory. Possibility of air and missile attacks against the whole territory of Ukraine remains high. During the last week, on the east of Ukraine, the Russian Federation continued to offend on several axes: Avdiivka, Lyman, Bakhmut, Mariinka, and at the end of the week it launched active offensive on Kupiansk direction, where it accumulated numerous forces which were redeployed by the Russian Federation from the Asia axis of the east. In particular, on Kupiansk axis, Kharkiv region, the enemy is searching for our weaknesses in defense. It is actively assaulting in the vicinity of Masyutivka and Novoselivsk, aiming to oust our units beyond the barrier line of Oskil River. There are two purposes of the Russian Federation on Kupiansk axis. The first one is to retake lost positions and territories, and the second is to provoke us, to make us concentrate our reserve there, which we should redeploy from other axes. On Lyman axis, during the previous week, the Russian Federation had been also fending, but unsuccessfully. The defense forces were successful in stopping this offense. On Bakhmut axis, daily on southern flank, in the vicinity of Bakhmut and around Bakhmut, our forces had been advancing, and the total number of liberated territory during the last week is up to 7 square kilometers. On the northern flank of Bakhmut, the Russian forces were trying to retake lost positions unsuccessfully, and severe hostilities were taking place there during the previous week. In general terms, on Bakhmut direction, more than 30 square kilometers were liberated during the whole course of offensive. On Avdiivka and Mariinka axis, the enemy has been offending with the purpose to seize Mariinka and Avdiivka. They were unsuccessful in this objective. The armed forces of Ukraine were resisting powerfully, and currently severe hostilities are still taking place there as during the previous week. On south, Ukraine continued offensive on Melitopol and Berdyansk axis, and we had success there daily. During the previous week, the liberated territory reaches up to 11 square kilometers, and if we are talking about advancing in depth of defense of the enemy during the liberation, it is up to 10 kilometers, and if we are talking about liberated area of 1,000, it is approximately 170 square kilometers. In the course of offensive operation, our defense forces on both southern and eastern direction destroyed a lot of armament and weaponry of the enemy. In this way, our defense forces are weakening offensive and defensive potential of the Russian armed forces. In particular, on both south and east, our defense forces destroyed more than 100 permanent position places of Russian armament and equipment, in particular 15 surface-to-air missile complexes, 5 command posts, 7 electronic warfare posts, and 7 air defense assets. Among these, our armed forces and defense forces destroyed 19 tanks and 44 infantry mobility vehicles. So to sum up, they've destroyed more than 100 units of Russian military equipment. On the northern axis, I should recall that we have a border with both Russian Federation and Belarus. On the border with Belarus, operational situation was unchangeable during the previous week. If we're talking about Russian Federation-Ukrainian border on Siversk and Slobodyansk axis, the armed forces of Russian Federation maintain their presence in the vicinity of border, and they are maintaining formations in the vicinity of Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod region in order to prevent our troops from redeployment to the areas of operation. During the last week, the Russian Federation had been offending, but it had no success and advance on this axis. Ukraine also continues its offensive, and on several axes we had success and advance. And nowadays we may tell that during the previous week, the defense forces of Ukraine weakened capabilities of the Russian Federation armed forces reasonably.